Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm your boy Retro Bliss, and you are on the Retro Bliss Rewind podcast. Welcome to the show. If you're watching from Retro Bliss Gaming, welcome. If you're watching from Mike's Gaming Gala, welcome, because we simulcast over there as well. We have a very exciting show tonight. We have the world record holder, Rob Berk. He has the world's largest pinball table collection, amongst other things we're going to be talking about. That's just we're just scratching the surface, but I'm not going to even try to discuss and explain all of this. I'm going to go ahead and bring our panelists in. Mike from Mike's Gaming Gala, and Brian from BD Retro Mods, and the man of the hour himself, Rob Berk. How you doing, Rob?
Good, man. It's chilly here in the studio.
We appreciate you being on the show. Thank you, man. I'm gonna let Mike kind of host more so tonight, because he is actually, there's a couple things going on. First of all, he has been to the Pastimes Arcade, and the Pastimes Arcade. I took the liberty of going to the Pastimes Arcade website, and the first thing I did was went to the arcade machine section, and for those of you who don't know what the Pastimes Arcade is, it is where it's like free play for a certain amount of money. You guys could go into detail there, but just the machines alone, when I went and saw the list of arcade machines, that was overwhelming, and I was like, wow. And then when I went to the pinball section, I was like, whoa. So Mike's been there. He knows he's been there, done that. So I'm going to let him kind of run the show tonight. And I'm just going to sit back and relax. And I'm probably going to ask a few questions and just going to sit in awe of what I'm going to hear tonight. So thank you for being on the show tonight, Rob. We appreciate it.
Yeah, glad to be here, guys.
All right, so proper introduction. Rob Berk, as Phil mentioned, was recently in February, I believe, announced as the world record holder for the largest pinball collection in the world. He was actually surprised with it by your daughter. Is that correct?
Yeah,
she went and got that for you. He is also the owner of Pastimes Arcade, which is in Girard, Ohio. And he is the founder of the Pinball Expo, which is celebrating their 40th anniversary this year. They are merging with the Video Game Summit. So whether you're into pinball, whether you're into video games, it's all going to be there. My impression has been that you are aiming to make this the biggest and best pinball expo that's ever been.
Absolutely.
And it is from October 15th to 19th, just outside of Chicago, Illinois. And I will be a guest there. I'll be doing a talk on homebrew video games. So I guess we start this off with, for a person who's got this massive collection and is sharing it with the world, or at least the world that has access to Girard, Ohio. What got you into this passion at the very start?
Yeah, you got to be someone that's a little bit lost their mind to get as crazy as I've done. But, someone hit the nail on the head when they call me a completist. Once you get one game, you want to get the whole series of these games. And, I also met Jeff Euler, and he does a podcast, I think, himself, but he is a retro guy that likes the older video games, and he kind of continued to fuel my interest. And when I think back, I had that game Midway made Timber, and then they had the other one called Root Beer, and then Tapper. So I had to get all three of them. And I'll tell you who helped out with that was the Captain's Auction. They seemed to come across a lot of interesting games, and I bought a lot of games from them. But the passion started with the pinball, guys. I mean, it goes back to the early 1970s. went to school at Kent State, and there was pinball heaven. And this is before they had video games. Pac-Man wasn't around, and before they had the internet. So we just played pinball till we dropped. And in the early, let me think. Sometime around that time, I started reading all the books from Roger Sharp and Michael Colmer about the history of pinball. And I started learning about all the designers and the artists. And I said to myself, well, these are the guys, the real superstars, because they built these games. It's not the big wigs that sit there on the top floor of Bally smoking cigars and drinking cognac. It's the designers. So they're my true heroes. So the guy named Steve Young put out a publication called Pinball Collectors Quarterly, and I put a questionnaire in there. If we were to have a National Pinball Collectors Convention, would you come? Well, it was overwhelming. Yeah, do it. So I met a lot of people in the industry because of my interest in the hobby, and a lot of them I met through Roger Sharp's book. And I met them, and they helped me get these manufacturers that they work for to come to the show. And the first year we had Pinball Expo, which was 1985, we had about 100 people. But back then there was no such show as a pinball show. No one had ever tried it. But I tried it, and at the banquet, I had 4 guys come up front to the head table, and that was Steve Kordek, Norm Clark, Wayne Nines, and Harvey Heiss. And between those 4 guys, they had designed over 600 pinball machines.
Wow.
So when I had them come up front and announce their names, everyone that came to the banquet stood and applauded. And a couple of guys had tears in their eyes because they had never been recognized. They were just a 9-to-5 guys. So that continued to fuel their interest. And then I started advertising in some of the major coin-out publications, wanted to buy pinball machines. Got a phone call from a guy in Waupaca, Wisconsin. He had about 50, about 15 off of him. And then I got a guy reach out to me in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Can you believe that? He said, I got 200 games. That's 200. So he starts naming them off. Oh, I got to have those games. So I flew down to Halifax, met the guy, went through his place, and like a kid in the candy store. So I bought about 40 games from him. Then later
I'll take
on, I got
that, and that.
It was even more than that. And I said, oh, I wish I could have taken all of them. And then I met a guy from Omaha, Nebraska. He had 400 games. And normally I'd pay about $100 a game. Well, the guy in Omaha wanted $300. I says, man, that price is crazy. Where do you get these prices? And he said, let me ask you a question. I said, of all the places you've been to, who's got 400 games you could choose from? And I looked at him and says, you're right. Here's your money. So I bought 40 games, but it's the most I ever paid for a bunch of games. But I was tickled to get them.
What they must be worth now. A good investment.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing about pinballs is, they go through cycles. But the problem is the people that collect or played these games, they're getting older. And the older they get, the less they want to buy and spend their money on buying pinball machines. So right now, the solid state games are hot. When I was growing up, it was the mechanical games. And the mechanical games would bring anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 among collectors. But now the price is really cut in half almost because they all want the new games and all the newer
for certain
players.
Cabinets.
Yeah, the newer players, they never even saw the older games. They don't even know about them. So Pinball Expo has evolved, from a show that concentrated on the games from the 60s, then the games from the 70s, games from the 80s, and now it's just all the newest games.
I would imagine, like right now, kind of that early 90s revival, is that starting to fade out?
I would say so. They want all the new stuff. And what's happening now is, when I first did Pinball Expo, the manufacturer would say, we don't get anything out of coming to your show because we deal with the operators that buy our equipment. You guys are just players. Well, that's evolved. It's now that a lot of the players and collectors like myself are buying the games direct from the manufacturers or through an operator or distributor of these games. So we're one of their biggest customers is the collectors, not the operators that put them in bars and so forth. So the game has really evolved, and what's happening is a lot of the manufacturers are pumping out games as fast as they can. More and more companies are getting involved. I call them boutique manufacturers. They just make 1 or 2 games, and they might produce maybe 40 games a month versus, Stern is doing, hundreds a day.
Yeah.
But they produce just enough games, and I guess they're making money because they keep doing it. And what's happening is I think, and a lot of other people think, that they're flooding the market. There's just so much cash out there. And right now, with the cost of goods being so freaking high, who can spend $10,000 for a piece of toy, a pinball machine?
I certainly can't.
So that's what's happening to the hobby anyways. And, even the video games guys, it seems to me like the video games are kind of, I don't see the price of those things growing higher unless I'm wrong. Just a couple select pieces, Discotron, the environmental or whatever. Some of the games are, definitely kept their value, but a lot of, I think, are the price to get a little soft.
You do see that because I'm a big video game collector, much like your son, who actually has the Holy Grail video game store section in Pinball Arcade. I forgot to or in Pastimes Arcade. I forgot to mention that. But yeah, there's certainly, it comes in waves. There was a point in time where NES and Super Nintendo were really at their peaks, and now you're starting to see them soften a little bit. Like they go through an era where they're not worth anything, then they go through an era where they're priceless, and then they start to die off. But that is also, it's one of the things that drove me, because when I first got into video game collecting, it was the original Nintendo. Even though I played Atari as a kid, and that was my first system. But then Nintendo got stupid expensive, and I started collecting more Atari. And it's the same way. My impression with the older pinball machines from like the 60s and the early 70s was that they were all kind of samey. It's the same kind of components, just moved around and slightly different graphics. But as I played more of them, and as I was playing them at obviously Pastimes Arcade, and you actually taught me or what the goal of Texan was, which is a pinball machine that at least is reported to be near and dear to your heart.
What in the world? Was that a fork?
That was a pen. It just flew out of my hand. But once you taught me what the goal was, and it was more than just trying to keep the ball in play.
Yeah.
It really makes the experience that much better, and it makes me want. Like if I was going to go out and buy a pinball machine, Lord knows I don't have any room or money for one. But if I was, I would probably go to one of those older ones because it's something that I could play and master, as opposed to something that is just full of distractions.
Yeah, there's new games that play so fast. You blink of an eye, the ball drains. It's very.
Don't get me wrong. I love the distractions. Some of the my favorite of the new tables that I played at your place was actually the Elton John Collector's Edition. I love that table. All the lights and the music and all that. Lots and lots of fun, but just that kind of focused gameplay of the older pinball, I'm learning to appreciate a lot more.
What's your all-time favorite pinball machine?
Me personally, Black Knight 2000.
Wrong. Texan. Oh my gosh.
Texan. Oh, I was supposed to say Texan.
Yeah,
I'm a sucker. I'm a sucker for that metal music when you get the ball and play long enough and the chorus starts. That's why I like that one.
The problem with a lot of your viewership is a lot of these guys don't play much pinball, and I guess don't get a chance to appreciate it. But Mike, you did. And you realize that, man, this is really more fun than I realized. I mean, we're sitting there, all of us screaming that, when you made all 3 holes in there, it's like you lost your mind. But I don't think you can get that when you play the video games. Hey,
I think it depends. I mean, if it's a multiplayer, yeah, I think you can get the same thing around an arcade cabinet too.
Really?
I think so.
I mean, like Galaxian, I made it to the 15th stage. Oh, good.
there is that, but there are some games. But I would say, as far as if I was to talk about a communal experience when it comes to arcade games, the biggest one that I ever experienced was with Street Fighter II in the early 90s. That would be, people would gather around and watch people play. They'd line up the quarters for who's next. But pinball does have now, granted, and actually maybe now's a good time to play a little bit of B-roll of what we're talking about here when it comes to Pastime Arcade. But so these are all kind of compressed together to fit so much into one place. But if you had a pinball cabinet out in the open, there's room for people to stand on the sides. And everybody can see what's happening without obstructing the player. So yeah, it can definitely be a communal experience.
No, I had that one game called The Grid. You guys know that game, The Grid?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, when I got that, the guy saying it's a rare game. It was made by Midway. It's over here to the right. I'm not sure if you're going to pan over there or not. But, you know, when I look at these games, I just shake my head. I can't believe I have all these titles.
So I have a question, Rob. And you may be getting to this a little later on, but you have all of these machines, and I know what it takes to maintain these things.
Yeah.
Like, how do you do that? I mean, because when you got them, were they in perfectly good working order when you got them?
Well, what's not really, no. But a lot of games I bought, like through Captain's Warehouse, I bought some games from him that were working. But I have several guys that work for me that are very adept at fixing these games. And lucky me, you know, I'm able to get these games up and running. And you know what makes the arcade so unique is we have maybe 160, 170 video games, but for the most part, every one of them are working and they're all clean. You know, someplace you go, you know, you got the cigarette marks everywhere and everything, but you know, they're all very nice shape. And it's just crazy, even for me to look at it. I said, oh my gosh, I forgot I had all these. That turkey shoot, you don't see that one every day.
No.
It looks great.
There's some really unique cabinets here too.
Michael Jackson is a desirable
Walker.
one. Three Stooges. I mean, that's a desirable one.
And we got to when I visited, we got to talk a lot with Mike and Wayne. They're two of your guys there, and just not even just the knowledge, but the passion. They were really passionate about keeping these so that people can play them. Which I love. Like
Robbie Robot. You never see that game, do you guys?
Yeah. Well, and for me, one of the most impressive things, right at the start of this B-roll, I showed Space War.
Right.
And I've seen Space War at the Strong Museum. I've seen Space War in multiple places. This is the first time I've ever been able to play an original Space War cabinet.
Is that blue one on the end there?
Yeah.
Duramold. Yeah, those are pretty rare games. Bubbles. Yep.
Yeah, and another one that surprised me because you know, I actually took my son here back in June. You know, because I was kind of embarrassed because like I didn't know this existed, and it's like, how did I not know something like this existed? Like an hour,
your backyard,
20 minutes, right? An hour and 20 minutes away from me. So you know, my friend Steven from the Tech Buzz, you know, told me about it. It's like I gotta go here. Like after I learned about it, and
there's
so,
the
like,
two tappers there.
Yes. So like literally the following weekend, you know, my son and I came up, and you know, we came up shortly after you guys opened, and I mean, I was highly impressed. And some of the stuff you already said, where, you know, right off the bat, I love the space you have between in the aisles. So that way you're not, you know, butting up on people trying to play. I was very impressed with how clean everything was. And because I visited another, you know, well-known arcade place, you know, like a year prior, and like a good amount of the games weren't working or joysticks were broke, different things.
Right.
And I was just really happy to see that most of the stuff like everything was working great. I
Come
mean,
up now, guys. I'm proud of this section here. So look at all these Pac-Mans, guys.
oh yeah, I
Yeah.
love this aisle.
Miss Pac-Man, Super Pac-Man, Pac-Man Plus. What's this one here? I can't quite read it.
Pac-Man.
Oh, the
Pac-Man
little
Mania.
bonus, yeah, Pac-Mania.
And that's
And then
Pac-Man.
behind in the next row
Yeah.
is Baby Pac-Man. And
Yeah.
there's another one, and you've got the pinball machine Pac-Man.
Granny and the Gators was a half pinball, half video. The one I can't find, guys, is Professor Pac-Man.
Okay.
That's what I'm looking
That's
for.
one you'll have to hunt for.
Okay, how about this one right here, guys? If you could stop it, that one right there with the black and white checks.
Oh, Spot.
Yeah, how often do you see that one?
Never.
So I was at a show. When was that? Maybe the Texas pinball show, and I saw that. So I grabbed that game. That was a real oddball.
I do have one request, if it is at all possible.
All right, I'll buy it. Who's got it for sale?
Is Burger Time. I did not see Burger Time.
Yeah,
here,
I have it at home. I don't know if I have it here. But
yeah.
Here's an oddball here. Look right here, guys. Hold the camera on that one.
Yep.
Two of them. The Exterminator is an oddball, and the one to the left of that.
Vega.
That's
I'd never seen a Vega before.
It's the craziest thing I ever saw. These crazy titles. I just can't. I'm amazed myself with some of these games that I find.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But it's kind of fun for me even to see this because here's
this one was really cool. Fire escape. A little ball comes out the top here. You can see my mouse, so that's good. And basically, all you're doing is these center metal beams. You make them go like that, and what you're trying to do is give the ball momentum to go to the next row, but not just fly off. Very, very simple game. Very difficult game. There we go. There's more of a close-up. Yeah, so the ball comes down, and you can see those just kind of flip up and down, and you're trying to get the ball down the chute.
Guys, you can appreciate what you're looking at here. All these games, for the most part, they're clean and working. There's another one there, guys.
Yeah, I was going to say that one I found interesting. The
What's
one
that crazy cabinet where it's slanted?
Yeah.
The tilted one, yeah.
Yeah.
Right there on the left.
Game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wacko, is that called, I think?
I think so. Yep.
That's a real oddball, that crazy cabinet. I don't know why they did that.
I don't know either.
But you know what? It draws your eye. And in an arcade, something that draws your eye around a whole bunch of things that are meant to draw your eye is a real good thing.
Guys. This
That's the Japanese flight sim, yeah.
You ever see that one?
I believe the Strong Museum has one, at least one very similar to it. So I have played that one before, but it's a very cool cabinet. And a very high quality cabinet too. Like the throttle feels really good.
It's really crazy to see it. I mean, it's just you got to shake your head like, man, this guy's lost his mind.
Space Encounters. I love this.
Yeah, that's an old one.
Yeah. I love the old ones because they have this feel to them that's just completely different. Like going to the fair when you were a kid, the little handles. It's like the steering wheels on those little cars that would go around the track. It's just got a very nostalgic feeling for me. And I love like that. I've never seen a battle zone like this. I've seen the little cabinets.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was a really fun game when it came out.
Yeah. I loved Battlezone.
But no, to your point though, one of the things I also enjoy because full disclosure, I'm one of those folks like you mentioned that I was never like big into pinball. It's not that I didn't like it, but really there was just not really many available for me to play growing up compared to arcade cabinets, and I had a very, very great appreciation for what you had.
Here's an oddball, guys. Cuphead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've never seen that cabinet. It's a newer game, but I've never seen the cabinet of it.
So here's that crazy game with the grid. I think it's Midway.
Yes, Midway.
Football game, I'm assuming?
Yeah. It's amazing how many people play that crazy game.
And here, of course, we've got Baby Pac-Man.
So here's all the retro. So half pinball, half videos. You got Baby Pac-Man,
Yes.
Granny and the Gators.
Yeah, that's wild.
You know, they were trying anything they could do to get the video guys to get into the pinball land.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you got a lot of these hybrids. I also like the ones like this one that's just on the right that I'm going to move to, where the pinball, it's a pinball machine, but it uses joysticks and it's like inside the cabinet. It's odd, but it's really cool. Yeah, unfortunately, I walked by it. Yeah, the upright.
Caveman, that's the one. That's the Gottlieb game, the premiere. Look at that. You ever see a pinball machine called that?
No. And what do we know about it? Nothing. One of the things that's really cool about Pastimes Arcade is that it is a curated collection.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is from your collection. And
Right.
that's why you've got all these cards.
And these games here are all the international games that I brought in containers from Europe. They're made in either Italy or Spain. So they had their own pinball market there because for some reason there was a time period where they could not import pinballs from the States. So they created their own cottage industry and produced these games from scratch and built a whole industry making pinballs in that part of the world. So you won't see these games anywhere. These are extremely unique games.
And I was going to say, like, unique's the right word. They've definitely got this look to them.
A look and a feel. You're right. Now,
yeah.
Look at this crazy one here. That's Terror Lake. I don't know why people like these silly games, but they're crazy. The titles are crazy. The artwork is crazy.
Yeah, this one flashes. It lights up.
Yep.
And so now, are you bringing some of these to Pinball Expo? I know you bring machines. I don't know if you bring them from Pastimes or not.
Yeah, I do. So none of the video games, but the pinballs I bring.
Yeah. Here, maybe we can. Because I wanted to get the. Oh, I love the Moonlander or Lunar Lander.
Yep.
You did.
It's somehow harder when you play. It's somehow harder when you play it properly with that cabinet. But
and you know what?
And here's one of those.
Here's how else I'm so goofy. You know, a lot of the games, the bezel is destroyed, or the plastic piece, you know, with the name of the game on there. That's the light bulbs over years have faded out the paint. So I'll reproduce those pieces.
Oh, nice.
Oh wow.
So there's restoration involved.
Oh, this is
Domino
one of my
Man.
favorite arcade cabinets of all time. Is Tron.
Yeah, that Domino Man you don't see every day.
No, there is a lot, and like you have Omega Race, but it's not just Omega Race. It's a sit-down cabinet. The Red Baron sit-down cabinet. Okay, tell us about the Hercules here.
Well, supposedly Atari made 200 of them, and it's the world's largest game. And the idea was typically they put them in the game rooms in these malls just to attract people into the arcades.
Yep.
So,
Dear Lord, you can see how big it is.
Yeah, it was an experiment, and you know, they only made that one model. It's too bad they never kept making the game. Here's a crazy one here. Look at that one, guys.
I loved this one. It's
Look at
really
the size
simple,
of that
but I loved
monster.
it.
So when you shoot at it, the lights shine along that front there. That I guess you could call water, and then in the back you got the missiles. The
Explosions.
Yep.
That was
I've
wasn't
already-
that Sega's first introduction into gaming?
This type of thing. He's got a few of the old Sega ones.
Mm-hmm.
So I have already released videos on Pastimes Arcade as a general entity. And yesterday I released a pinball video. The arcade video is coming next. And I did get footage of this actually running with the explosions and everything.
Yeah, Sega made a lot of oddball games. If you saw
They're
early
good
on,
though.
yeah, they are. That we had that one basketball game with a dome over it. You saw it early on in here. That's
Yeah.
a Sega game. That was a Sega game.
Yeah, and the gunfight. Gunfight's a Sega game.
Space Invader, but you know, very popular title.
Yeah, that's a modern one. Yeah.
Here, the one next to is a real oddball piece. Danger Zone. Never heard of it.
I took the highway to the danger zone once.
There you go.
Kenny.
No, what's coming up is I really appreciated the old carnival style games.
Get
that you
ready.
had. I loved it.
Yeah. This right here. I've never seen a sit-down Red Baron cabinet. That was so cool.
Just imagine, guys, all these different titles on the one roof. Just great.
Yeah,
It's
and
overwhelming.
so in my overview, I showed kind of a behind the scenes in the staff area in behind those doors there. And there was a Red Baron cabinet up there. And Mr. Postile is one of our viewers. He's in the chat. He was like, oh, that's really cool. Red Baron. I'm like, oh, well, there's a reason this one's in the back.
Omega Ray is a good one. All right, here you come.
Yep.
The
I
old
love
fashioned shooting gallery. It's all run by air pressure. But I bought this thing because the price was right. I bought it and I said, oh my gosh. So then I found the manufacturer who makes this thing, and they're in Colorado, and they came down here and they put it together for me.
Oh, they made this for you. You didn't buy it from
Well, I bought
you
it.
didn't buy it used.
They refurbished it. Yeah, I bought.
Oh,
I did buy
okay.
it used. Yeah.
Okay. And this whole aisle here is probably my favorite aisle because it has all the really old stuff. This is the stuff that, it's entirely possible my grandfather went to the fair and played some of these old shooting games or the really old pinball. That one was very difficult, moving the helicopter around. There's one or two of those metal bars that you have to hit that are really tricky to hit.
Oh yeah.
And then this combat, Sega Combat, I loved this Sega Combat. Really cool with the black lights inside. And you see your little tank in the front, and the barrel moves side to side.
Yep.
And it fires an arc, and it hopefully blows up your targets. But
down
then
here,
you can see.
Yep.
Oh.
These are all. This is Allied Leisure made a couple oddball pinballs.
Yes.
They're upright.
This is more like what I was referring to with the stand-up pinball cabinets. They're really neat.
Now, coming up next is a game that you never see. It was called Horse Feathers. This game was made in the mid-'50s, but it was 2 playfields, and you play against yourself, and then as you hit the bumpers, it makes the horses in the back go across the front of the game. Another very odd piece.
Yeah.
But again, look at, this game was in the 50s. The original glass was so chewed up that the paint, you couldn't hardly make out the name Horse Feathers.
Oh, and this is pristine.
Yeah, we had to have my graphics guy just redo the graphics.
Yeah. But that's one of the things, like, and the fact. Oh, okay, I've got to load the second video. It's that big.
Yay.
The fact that what I love about this is because Pastimes Arcade is free play. It's not like I can't play that one because I don't know how it plays. I don't know. Like, you can just give any of these machines a go, and then hopefully gain an appreciation for the older stuff.
Yep.
And what's also nice is when you go, because again, like we've mentioned, it's all on free play. It's a flat fee to get in. It was $20 for me, $10 for my son, and it was unlimited play for the whole day. And what's also nice, as long as you keep the wristband on you, I mean, you can leave and come back in that day. So if you need to take a little break from the place,
go to lunch, come back.
Right. And
never when I went to the mall was there a gun on the horse that I rode.
That's a real oddball piece.
Yeah, I loved it. I did get some footage of it working, but I did not sit on the horse. I didn't want to break your.
Oh, Daddy.
This is a really cool game. So you shoot. Your guns have light sensors, and you shoot the light sensors on those, and the little platforms inside bounce around to hopefully bounce the can into the opponent's goal.
I heard you
pro
wiped
hockey.
the floor with Michael Thomason on that game.
I mopped the floor of. I mean, his gun didn't work very well compared to mine, but Mike had told me that was on their list to fix. But then you guys have tons of these, a whole aisle full of these shooting games.
It's unbelievable. I mean, nowhere can you get this. Nowhere. No one has lost their mind.
It's
like
overwhelming.
Nowhere.
It's just crazy.
This is crazy. What do you think?
This one was cool.
What's
My
Uncle Brian
granddaughter's
think?
going to go crazy when I take her up there.
Brian, what do you think, buddy?
Oh, like I said, I love the place. I said my son and I, we spent 7 hours there that Saturday that we came up. And if I didn't have about an hour, 20 minutes home, we probably would have stayed for a couple more. So
the gun games it just give me headaches keeping those games running, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing
they're old.
This game here, Savannah, that game was made in Spain. A gun game made in Spain.
Oh, okay.
No, I was just impressed at how, like I said, how well organized, clean everything was. Because, like you said, growing up, I didn't do much pinball, and it's not because I didn't like pinball. It's just like I mentioned before, there just really wasn't many pinball machines for me to play growing up, and but I was so impressed with like what you had there, because again, it's like an arcade / pinball place, but it's really a museum at the end of the day too, because again, you had all the stuff up there, explaining what they were, and I just like how you had everything organized, kind of really by the decades that they were in, and it was just really neat to see that progression. And
and we're going to be walking down some of the aisles in that progression here.
And I know I don't remember the name of it, but the one my son and I had a lot of fun on for pinball was I think it was like a gravity one, because it had like the hills in it, like
Orbiter One.
Yeah.
That crazy thing.
Yeah, that one was something else. So
these are all Bally titles. I collected Bally because as a young guy playing Bally games, no one liked Bally games because they were so boring. And because of that, all their production runs were very low because the games were so bad to play. So I thought to myself during COVID, I'm so bored. So I started collecting these.
Time to buy some bad games.
Yeah, I started collecting Bally games. I said, no one's going to collect these goofy games. And there we go.
We had a question from Derek. How busy does it get, and is there a less crowded day? I wasn't there when they were actually open, so I'm actually interested too.
So we're open Thursday through Sunday, but I'd say during the day, it definitely less crowded than on weekends. Saturday is the craziest. Friday evening is pretty crazy, but there's everything, guys. It's just
there is everything. Like this is one of the very few places in the world that I would say that's not an exaggeration.
We
actually
racing games or car racing.
The footage kind of went by it, but there's a pinball machine there called Safecracker.
Right.
And Safecracker was famous for having it had the wings on the side that everybody ripped off because they wanted to fit it into a regular pinball lineup. So you never see it with the wings, but also it used to have coins that it would spit out at you.
Yeah, when you hit a certain
and
height.
So you'd be playing and it would warn you, okay, yes, you're about to win a coin, and they would literally spit out and it would bounce and roll across the glass and hit you in the chest. And you never find them with coins, but you guys made your own Pastimes arcade coins, and they have your own characters on them. If this would focus, this one is Flipette. And on the back, it has a Pastimes arcade logos. But you guys actually made 4 coins to put in that machine. Michael Thomason won 3 of them, and he won this one. This was a double, so he gave it to me. I am not a great pinball player, so but he gave me his double, which was really cool.
Now, guys, these are all the games from the 30s, so this is how the industry started.
This is the museum section of Pastimes Arcade.
This is the very infancy of pinball here in America, and this is how it all started. Very simple games, not a lot of artwork, not a lot to the games.
More
But-
like pachinko machines than anything else, because
Yeah.
they didn't have flippers.
Get
They
it
have
in
a
the
charm-
hole.
They have a charm of their own. And what's interesting is the one to the right here coming up, next one over to the right, was produced in Youngstown, Ohio, which is right, 10 minutes away from where I'm at.
Okay, so I think the oldest one that you had here was from 1931, if I'm recalling correctly.
Yep. Look, very simple. Some of
Yes.
them a little bit more, had a little more decor than others, but as you can see, they're very simple games. And not much to shoot, no flippers, no legs, just they sat on a counter. They call them counter games.
Yeah. It's just crazy.
It is crazy. I mean, it's just, you can't, even for me to see it, it's cool because I know I got a lot of stuff. I don't know how I got so much stuff, but I do. And what's scary is there's a lot more, but there's nowhere to put it.
Yes.
Jake.
I really liked that exposed electromechanical pinball explained thing. I was talking to Wayne and he explained that there's 3 miles of wires in the average electromechanical pinball machine.
Hey guys, so here's the next person you wanted to interview. He just showed up. Come here, Jade. So this is Jade that has the Holy Grail. And he came here when he heard that there was going to be an interview. He came over here so he could see you guys.
Sure.
And he's the retro video guy. And he is Mr. Retro Video Guru.
Hey, Jay.
How are you guys?
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. How are you guys?
Good.
Nice to have you on
Good,
the
thank
show.
Yeah,
So what's
appreciate
up
it.
with you, man? Tell us your story.
Yeah, so right now I'm 22 years old. I graduated college in May from Ohio State. Got my degree in business, but a big retro gamer. So growing up, I was like playing GameCube. So I had a hunt since I was 14, like every GameCube game.
Okay, hold on a second. You just called GameCube old.
You just hurt everybody on this panel.
Oh man.
So I went
Okay,
out and got
yeah,
every
you're good.
GameCube game ever made in North America. I got the full set as of last year.
Wow.
But then I had my own gaming business, the Holy Grail video game store.
Yes, and that is, I can actually, that might not be in this video. That's in the next.
Is that in the same area then?
It is it's in the entry area.
Yep.
At the
Oh.
end here, I did a walk up to the, here we go. If you walk up, you see right up there, the Holy Grail video game store.
That's it.
And that's
Oh, great. Somewhere to spend money.
that's a store. Yep.
So you got the variety
he's
of
got
games out there.
The ultra retro GameCube stuff. It's got a Dreamcast. We talked about the Dreamcast recently, and here we go. Here's some real retro. He's got NES and SNES.
Ultra retro, right?
No, that's really cool. You got a full GameCube collection because I know there's a lot of folks trying to achieve that
Yep.
for the GameCube.
Here's a question. What's it like growing up with a dad that's got all of this stuff?
Yeah. I mean,
Were you ever bored as a kid? Ever?
Nope, never. It was great. I've always been around pinball, love pinball, all types of them, the old EMs, the solid state, some of the current games even. So it's quite amazing the variety of games that we have. So it's great. I can walk downstairs and play almost any game that I want to.
For sure.
So are you in
Do you
charge?
think- do you
of
think that your dad
procuring
did
the
it for
actual
you?
cabinets then?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I say with you being the retro gamer, is it your job to procure the arcade cabinets and your dad's to get the pinball?
No, for me, it's for me, more so just like the retro, like video games, more so the console games, and then
Okay.
he's hunting the pinballs and arcade cabinets.
Hey, Mike, you still there, Mike?
Let me.
I'm still here.
I want you to ask Jay one question, and that is what his favorite EM game is.
What is your favorite EM gamer?
Favorite EM game is Gottlieb Dimension. Or
Dimension.
Texan. Yep, Dimension or Gottlieb Texan.
I was about to say wrong Texan.
So tell me, do you think your dad does this partially because of you? Like to spend time with you and to have some good quality time with you, and you have brothers or sisters that you that are into this as well, or?
Well, so I'm the only boy in my family. I'm the youngest. I got 4 older sisters. But as far as the pinballs go, I mean, yeah, I think over the years between all different pinball shows that we would attend and go to, and I'll be with him buying these games. There's a couple of games that I would see on the show floor and tell him to buy that certain games that we didn't have, like a Sturm Metallica and a couple other games that I like playing, and told him, hey, this is a game that we don't have, so I think that we should buy it. So it's been cool to even hunt some of these warehouses. We travel together over the country. And I've been with him making some of these warehouse deals, so it's pretty cool.
Man, he's a cool dad.
Oh yeah,
he's the coolest dad on the planet.
I mean, I think many of us can feel this, right? It's always good when you have a child that has the same hobbies as you, because it makes it a lot easier to get things in that hobby.
Well, guys, this is why.
Honey, I have to buy one. It's for the kids.
This is why I combined the video game summit, because I mean that's more his world than mine.
Yeah.
So I figured one day he'll be running the show, so now he can have a good time with the video end of it.
Absolutely. So, do you have any insight for us then about the 40th annual Pinball Expo? That maybe, like, your dad's all focused on the pinball side of things, but you being the video game guy, is there anything you could share with us that's going to be there?
Well, so I talked to a couple of different guys who I know who are going to attend down and be a vendor. They got some great booths. Even myself, I'm going to have a presence down there at the show. I'll be selling, the games, the older games, the consoles, maybe some accessories, controllers, cords, and some odds and ends. So I'll have a presence down there. So I look forward to, seeing everyone down there and a chance to have a booth again, because with myself, I've gone to a few different trade shows. I went to a trade show in Philadelphia, the Too Many Games show in June, and then the Classic Game Fest in July. But my next convention is Expo, so definitely excited to have a booth again and meet some awesome people.
Okay, we've got a question from one of our viewers. He wants to. Well, I think we need him to define what qualifies as an older game.
Well, I guess for me, born in 2001, the same year the GameCube came out. So to me, I mean, I almost probably I call GameCube older, but probably pre-GameCube. So N64, Super Nintendo, NES.
We're getting a little better. No, I'm just kidding.
You know what? That's completely fair. My oldest was born in 2006, so he would have a similar. He'd be like, "Oh, pre-Wii." Mm-hmm. That's what counts as old. And I get that. As we get older, the definition of retro changes.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I'd say your dad is slightly older than me, but I got my first gaming system in 1977.
Wow.
The Atari 2600. Yeah. So yeah, I'm that's what I would consider maybe old.
Now, guys, for me in the pinball world, for the older games, to me the older games are the mechanical pinball machines.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure the guy who asked the question if he meant by the older retro games or older pinball games.
Yeah, he just said define older games, and I think it was more of a teasing of the fact that we're all older here.
Yep.
I think your son might be the youngest person that's ever been on our show.
22 years old.
22.
It gets better.
Definitely.
He's the youngest guy to go to a Rolling Stones concert. He went when he was 9 years old.
Nice.
So one question I do have for you, because I mean, I think I already know the answer, but obviously since older, the mechanical pinball machines, do you find it harder to repair those mechanical ones, or is it harder to repair these newer ones that have a whole bunch of flashy screens and other bells and whistles?
Yeah, it's a good question, because it's again, as we all get older, the old timers that fixed the older games are becoming less and less available to find. And as you see, we have a good mix of both of them. So I have a couple guys that can work on both of them, but one guy will only work on solid state, and other guys only work on the mechanical games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I remember seeing one of the blueprints that they were working off of, and he folded it out, and it was all these wires and components, and it was literally laid out like a map. So it's like, okay, this says here that the fuse that attaches to that relay is at E17, and he'd find it and try to diagnose it that way. It's absolutely crazy, and especially Mike, who I know was a big part of setting up Pastimes Arcade. He's just, it seems like a whole other world to me. He's a miracle man.
Yeah. See, guys, a lot of the games here on the floor, I know all the designers and I know all the artists that made these games, and I've met them on a first-name basis. So that's why it's kind of
incredible
cool to see these games, because you know, that's what happens when you're older, man. You've been around the block, so to speak.
Well, and you picture these guys in this kind of offshoot industry in their 20s, just drawing up all this stuff. And, oh, what if we put the bumpers here and here? And what if we make it so it does that? It's just a whole other world.
Yeah, you're right. It's crazy.
There's Wayne.
There he is. Well,
so another question I actually have for you guys, because it looks like, probably about 10 minutes left yet, is just that, what can you tell, like what's next? Like what's coming next for you guys? Because obviously I know you kind of mentioned about, space being kind of a thing, with some stuff. It's just, I guess, do we have any new arcade cabinets or more pinball on the horizon? I know I saw a post, which I'm looking forward the next time I can get up there, is, you did get the Godzilla cabinet now, which I do enjoy that one. I played that one at Cleveland Gaming Classic last year a lot, and
I play pinball. It's good.
Yeah.
I play Godzilla. It's good.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to do that again. But like, is there anything else coming?
well, hold that picture right there.
Okay.
Now go back a little bit, right there on the right there.
Surfing.
You're surfing. So surfing is a game that was made in Japan for the Japanese market.
Wow.
I found this game and I imported it from Japan, a single game I brought over and flew it in. But it's a unique game. It's a fun game, but extremely rare. It's probably the only Japanese Sega game you'll see on the soil, U.S. soil.
I just noticed that Sega.
I was just going to say, I did not realize Sega did pinball.
Sega
I guess
of
I shouldn't have
Japan.
been
You got it,
surprised,
guys.
but-
So these are extremely, extremely hard to find. And when I found it, that was Yoshi J.
Mhm.
The guy sold to me, and he did me a big favor selling it. And to the right of it, for you video guys, is a pinball machine that they use a video screen is the playfield.
Yeah. What was I going to say? You also have, speaking of rare cabinets, you have a playable Thunderball, which
That's
is one
correct.
of 10
One
in the
of
world.
10. Why do you think only 10 were made?
I have no idea. It seems like a pretty standard pinball cabinet.
I'll tell you why, because it was what they called a DOG.
Oh, it was a bad one.
Now, this Pokemon, some guy, there's a game that was made. Go back to that Pokemon for 1 second.
Okay.
Back up. Next to that, to the right. You're right there. This game was made in the late 60s. It was a pin or a billiard thing. And this guy took this game and totally rethemed it for his kids who were Pokemon nuts. And I bought this game at Expo last year, and my idea for buying it was for the younger kids that come to the show. Thought they would enjoy it.
My granddaughter will love that.
Now, this is my era of pinball. When I first started getting into pinball was the early 90s. With that Twilight Zone and the Indiana Jones and the Star Trek The Next Generation. Those were my nostalgic cabinets.
I mean, just think about
Here's Orbiter 1. That's a crazy one.
It was
Crazy.
It's fun. I like it.
that game came from the outside. Someone created that game on their own and brought that idea to Stern, and Stern bought it and packaged it. But it wasn't that much popular. It was cool, different. But
it's cool and different, but if you are a hardcore pinball guy, it will drive you insane. I have no doubt.
But look at the game next to it, Cubert's Quest. That's a video game.
Yep.
They made it into a pinball themed game as well.
Yeah, that was another fun cabinet.
And what I was going to say is that video games are very similar in that way, where the most expensive and rarest ones, they're expensive and rare because nobody bought them because they sucked.
Yeah. When I look at these games, I can't hardly even believe that one guy, me, could have bought all these games. I mean, you have to realize I've been buying these games for years, and it's just crazy how the collection has grown to what it is. And these games are all working and they're all clean. I mean, I can't believe it. Jay, can you believe it? I mean,
Can't believe it.
And you're still married?
Yep. Well, my wife, the first game she liked to play was Whirlwind, and I knew what I was doing. So we got home from our honeymoon, and what was sitting in the house? A Whirlwind pinball.
Ooh, that's how you win them over.
Yep. But
it's funny because it's the same kind of joke like George Lucas. He sold Star Wars to Disney and then he got married, which just goes to show that even George Lucas has to sell his Star Wars stuff before a woman will marry him. So that's the joke with video games too.
The guys, we just passed up all 6 or 7 titles of Atari games. Atari made pinball for a short time. So
and they made the wide tables, which
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 titles I have there of all Atari games.
And Hercules over there.
Yep. So they made more, but that, again, the representation is not just one. It was as many as I could find.
Yeah.
But they were all average games for the time. But Steve Ritchie designed a lot of them. And Steve Ritchie, as you know, ended up at Williams.
Yeah. Now this one I always thought was cool when I was first getting into pinball because the ball starts in those little side things. You can turn them and shoot different
cannons,
places of the board. Yeah, the cannons. So how about you? I asked your son, but is there any kind of special stuff that you can tell us that's coming to Pinball Expo that we might not know about?
All I can say is, if you're hip, I'm trying to think of the word you use nowadays. If you're cool, what's another word, Jade? If you're what, Jay?
If you're down. No, I'm just kidding.
If you're what else, Jay? What's the words they talk about? If you're not square, you're
round.
You know,
You can tell
this
he's
is
from
the show
Canada.
you got to come to because we have 4 days of insanity with the show. Over 400 games will be there, so for free play. There'll be the who's who of pinball, the who's who of video will be there. What's his name? Who am I thinking from? It was with Atari, and then he went to work at Williams from Raw Thrills.
Oh, Mr. Baseman says the word is dope. If you're dope, you're going to be at the Pinball Expo.
Right, Jay?
Nope.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Derek's wrong. It's not swell.
Eugene Jarvis. You guys know that name?
Eugene Jarvis. Okay.
So he'll be at the expo. So I mean, there's a lot of who's who of people in the industry that.
And you actually have Pinball Factory tours.
We do.
It's part of the event too.
We see all 4 factories and ready. And this is for you guys only. And we're going to Galloping Ghost.
Yep. And for those who don't know, tell us what Galloping Ghost is.
Doc Mack has the largest collection of video games, well over 1,000, all working, all on the floor, all on display. It's just insane.
It is.
That's nuts.
You know,
This rapid fire cabinet I really liked. It reminded me of Crossfire.
Some of these things are a once in a lifetime opportunity. So you got to go for them when you can.
I agree. I'm really, really looking forward to it.
Especially for the 40th year. You know, anything that's been around that long, typically you can just assume it's going to be pretty outlandish. You know, if it's the 6th year, 7th year, ho hum, but 40 years,
Yeah.
like, wow, this has got to be. These guys know what they're doing. And have the same team of people around that many
You
years.
start to have a legacy.
Yeah. Jay, don't forget me.
Never.
So Jay will be there. You guys can meet him, and all of you young ladies that want to see a hot superstar, he's taking names and numbers.
All you young ladies who are into pinball, you could inherit all of this.
That's right. Exactly right. Pretty amazing, guys, really. And I thank you guys for having me come on the show. And
Yeah, it's been a blast.
Yeah.
I'm glad Jay was here because he could add his 2 cents to it. But, you know, he collected nothing. And his cousin gave him that GameCube. He played it and liked it. And then he knew that he came from a collector's family. I also collect Pee Wee Herman, SpongeBob, you know, when the kids were younger.
Yeah.
And if you guys are hip, I also collect Ultraman.
Oh,
You know-
Ultraman.
If
Yeah.
you know anything about Ultraman.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And I took my son to Japan several times, and we've seen Ultraman like it came out of our ears. But guys, we're getting kicked out of this venue
All
that
right.
we're talking from. But we thank you guys all for seeing us. Hopefully, your audience enjoyed it. And
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
yeah,
you,
we'd love
Rob.
to see
Thanks,
you.
guys. We appreciate you guys
Thanks,
being
guys. Hope
here.
to see you in Chicago. Pinball
Yeah.
Expo.
All
Yeah.
right. Take care.
All right.
Thanks,
Take
guys.
care. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
All right. That was a treat. That was definitely a treat. We really enjoyed that. We learned a lot about pinballs. I tell you what, like I said, if you guys want to see the taste, I know you saw a lot on the video, but there is actually a list of the pinball tables and the arcade machines at this at the I'm having a Pastimes Arcade
Website.
on the website. So check it out, you guys. And I'm about 4 hours away, but I'm gonna go check it out. At some point I'm gonna see
You
if
have
the
to.
wife and the family
yeah.
want to go make a weekend of it and go do that, because that's something that the family would love.
To put it in
and
perspective,
enjoy.
we did get Michael Thomason and I did get in there for free when they weren't open, which was definitely a bonus. But honestly, that only saved me $40 because we were there for 2 days. We drove 6 hours each way and got a hotel room for the night to go to this place. And I do not regret it one bit. It is absolutely worth it. It's one of those, you know, you got to at least do it once in your life if you're a big pinball or arcade guy.
Yeah.
And I'm with him. Like I said, I took my son early June and had a blast, and I can't wait to get back up there again because, like I said, it's not a terrible drive from where I'm at. It's about an hour 20 minutes, hour 25 minutes, and it's great time. And like I said, I think for the value you get, I mean, where can you go to get that type of entertainment for $20 a person?
Especially if you're someone like me, or if you're tentative and you like, I used to always go to the arcade and play the same few cabinets because I didn't know those ones, and the game would be over in 30 seconds. But this, it doesn't matter. When it's free play, you can try everything, and then, hey, maybe you really like something. And that all arcades should be run like this. Absolutely.
Yep.
All.
Oh yeah, without
Yep.
a doubt. And like I said, I guess as we're closing again, you know, to reiterate, like I said, it's a very clean place. It's very spacious. I was very impressed with how much of the stuff worked. And one of the
The
things we
venue
didn't-
used to be a grocery store.
yeah, it used to be a grocery store. One of the things we didn't hit, you know, he does have concessions there that you probably saw in the video, which, you know, so you don't
Milkshake
have
of the
to
month.
leave- Yep, milkshake of the month, and
Don't spill it.
Keep it in that little cafeteria
Yeah.
area.
Oh,
but the
yeah.
other thing we did, but the other thing we didn't really mention, that's nice, and what I think helps with keeping the machines up is that, there's little QR codes on all of them that take you to a Google form so you can submit and say there's an issue. And again, I think depending on the day, and what's involved with it, could be a quick fix or not, because I know a couple machines that I reported, there was someone taking care of them that day. So
yeah, so what they told me is they're open Thursday to Sunday, and then Monday and Tuesday they're going through that list, all the bigger stuff. By Wednesday they usually have that list taken care of, and that's when they start. They work on stuff, more long-term projects or stuff like that. But it is one of the only places that has actual dedicated repair staff. And their job is simply to just go through that QR list as it gets populated. But it's a brilliant idea, those QR codes. Because how many times have you gone to a machine, it's like, oh, this flipper doesn't work. And then you just move on to the next. Well, now you can tell them it doesn't work. And next time you come back, it'll be working.
Exactly.
If you're in the area remotely close, I mean, Mike had mentioned it, but now that I've actually kind of seen it just online, it makes perfect sense to try to do it if you can. So,
and if you live really close, there's also membership plans. So that way which obviously if you're really close and plan on
if I lived really close, I'd be there every weekend.
Right.
I'd be divorced.
and
Again.
I think it's worth saying, guys, pinball's retro gaming.
Yeah.
I hate to tell you, pinball's retro gaming, man, is part of it. So, we appreciate you guys being here. Like I said, thanks for Rob, and thank you, Mike, for suggesting for Rob to be on the show. And with that, I will say now next week I am not going to be here, but the plan is that Mike and Brian are going to be talking about the Vectrix.
Well,
maybe
We'll see. We got to talk. Maybe we talk about the news that happened.
There might be another something else to talk about. Okay. All right. I didn't know you guys had talked about maybe an alternate.
We haven't, but we think on the same wavelength because we're both younger than you.
Yeah, there's been some.
No, initially we were thinking about the Vectrex, but obviously,
no one let me know that there was an alternate subject matter.
We didn't let each other know either. Like I said, we're psychic.
No one let me know before the show.
With the new Atari news today.
Yeah, there's some Atari news.
Yeah,
we were actually we're wondering that we might. Yeah, but
we
anyway,
were talking about it prior. Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about this prior to the show. So anyway, I will not be here because I'm going to be on vacation, and so after that week, we are taking the month of September off. And because I will be off part of the month and Mike will be off part of the month. So we're just going to take that month. We're going to take a step back, take a chance to regroup, get some subject matter together because you guys, it's not easy coming up with some subject matter sometimes, but we're going to do it.
It's easy when you have guys like Rob Berk and collections like that. You
yes.
just sit there and
those guys don't come up every week.
No, they don't.
No, they don't. So anyway, appreciate you guys being here. So with that, we're going to sign off, guys. Thanks for hanging out on Retro Bliss Rewind. We'll see you next time.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.